What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 48 of the Overview. I'm ChanManV, and joining me today is my co-host Fishstix. What's up, buddy?
Hello, hello.
And we've got a special guest, yet another first-time guest, captain of Hammer Esports, Jake. I feel weird just saying Jake. I mean, it's just like calling you like by your real name instead of by your actual player name. So welcome to the show, man.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, super happy to have you here. Lots to talk about, so it's going to be great getting your opinions and thoughts on a lot of things going on right now, particularly about the game. But yeah, guys, again, it's like a Tuesday, and we lucked out this Tuesday, given that they released everything before the show instead of after the show or during the show. So we've got the patch out there, Season 4 starting. We've got tons of events to talk about, some news involving Overwatch as well as players, and potential news maybe, or maybe some speculations as to what some players are doing. So we'll just get things started right off the bat and kind of, I guess, get everybody's thoughts on what you guys are doing right with Overwatch. And maybe let's start off with the golden guns. Did you guys get a golden gun at the end of Season 3?
Yep.
Yeah,
I picked mine up like as soon as that splash screen showed up. Oh, you got 3,000 competitive points. I'm like, boink. Yep. I got Winston.
Winston's already great. Well,
nice.
Yeah.
All right.
I absolutely love my Yeti Winston skin. I think it's probably my favorite skin in the whole game, and now I've got the golden gun to go along with it. So feels good, man. I think I'm up to I've got Lucio, Genji, Pharah, Winston now. So
wow, nice.
Guns and counting.
Okay, Jake, how about you?
In keeping with the patch, I have 4,964 points, and I am unlocking the golden Bastion skin
you dirty.
Right now. All right, there we go.
Right now.
Locked in.
He did it right on the
Yes,
show. Yes. All right. I guess you're anticipating Bastion being strong. Surprise.
We're gonna get to this. We're gonna get to this in a moment.
Yes.
Not quite yet.
So I'm sitting on 3,400, and I haven't decided who I want yet. It's between Diva and originally it was just gonna be Zenyatta because I used to always play Zenyatta on all the King of the Hill maps. But I've been having second thoughts, so it's either going to be Diva, and then Jake's been giving me very solid argument for Bastion, which I don't know. I might be swayed. I might have to talk to my son about it too, see what he thinks. But I'll probably be picking the golden gun later tonight, though. So I can't wait to do that. But season 4 starts. You guys excited to jump on competitive right off the get-go tonight?
I'm actually not going to get a chance tonight, just because we have 4 hours of scrims before our carbon match against Immortals tonight, which is gonna be a big match for us. So it's definitely the priority. But tomorrow I'll be jumping right into competitive, hoping to.
There's always a concern about playing on day one of a new patch as well. I'm sure we're gonna see Bastions left, right, and center tonight, as well as I don't know, maybe some more mercies, things like that. It's always a little bit risky. You could win a lot, you could lose a lot. Really depends on the luck of the draw sometimes with the brand new patch days. But yeah, I've been just chilling. I have not been playing Overwatch. Well, ranked has been down. Just been grinding like Civ 6 constantly. That game is
grinding Civ 6.
Oh my god,
that's
that game
never ending, man.
Sucks away your life in a way that no other game possibly ever could. But yeah, I think I'll play some warm-up games, but then probably gonna jump right into it tonight.
Get those placements
throw
out.
Caution to the wind.
Mm-hmm. That'd be good. Definitely good. So you guys are playing Immortals tonight, Jake?
Yes, we are.
Oh wow, that's gonna be great. Yeah.
From the Alienware series.
Yeah, that's gonna be great. Your first series was actually really good. Look forward to seeing that tonight. But yeah, so since we have you here, Jake, it'd be great to kind of do a mini interview with you, kind of get caught up with you. So yeah, tell us a little bit about you're obviously a college student, and we have some college students obviously on some teams, but for the most part these days, not very many actually, right, Ben? I don't think we've got that many double timing Overwatch pros right now in some of the top teams. So yeah, Jake, tell me a little bit about that, juggling school and obviously playing in a professional Overwatch schedule.
I've sacrificed a lot, I would say, in terms of like college. I'm looking to graduate early just so I can be done and go into full-time gaming, just because it is quite taxing. I mean, I basically do nothing other than schoolwork and things to pursue my professional Overwatch career. But I don't know. I love both of them, so just looking forward to finishing it out. I figure I'm so close. It's just crazy to drop out.
Yeah.
Crazy to quit now, especially with I should be done like right as the Overwatch League comes out, roughly. I mean, no one knows exactly when, but I think it makes a lot of sense for me to just get a degree, just because I've already put 3 years into it.
So you're one of the few people that are actually happy that they haven't done anything with Overwatch League quite yet, right?
yeah. I'm like, yeah. Well, if it came out right now, I don't know if I could do it.
Right. exactly.
I'd have to wait for season 2 or something. So I'm a little glad. I mean, also I'm glad that they're taking the time to make sure that they do it right. And if anyone could do it right, it's a company with the scope and the reach of Activision Blizzard.
Well, I definitely commend your decision to finish out school. Fun fact, I joined Twitch with literally 1 credit before graduation.
Seriously? I didn't know that.
6 years ago. I never finished that last class. So
wait, do you lose credit? Do you lose all your credits now, or
no?
still...
It's still I could still get a degree.
Go do
I
it
just
at
need to
night,
do
dude.
1 class. Who's got time for that?
Or the weekends? I mean something.
Yeah.
Man, it's a 1
day,
credit.
Okay, Dad. Damn.
I'm just saying. I mean, the worst thing you want is like losing those credits, because eventually, I think they do expire, right, or something like that.
Probably.
Don't let that happen, dude. What are you studying, Jake? You mind me asking?
I'm actually a double major in philosophy and economics.
Okay, cool, good stuff. So talk to me about Hammer Esports. Like, you're obviously the captain of the team. You guys have been performing well for the last couple months, I would say, maybe even more. Yeah, definitely January and onwards.
January was a really good month.
Yeah,
for us.
yeah.
Was, I think our record in January was 20-1.
Yeah. So how did the team all come together with Hammer, and then just kind of talk about now?
So originally we were Bird Noises, which was a team name that some of the players had used in Team Fortress 2, because that's a game that actually all 6 of us had played at the highest competitive level.
Oh, okay.
4 of us have played in ESEA Invite. 2 of us played in Intermediate at the highest peak. We all played in the highest division of the 9v9 game mode.
Oh.
Wow. Okay.
And I think so. TF2 was a game, with like no exposure, no money. If you're playing TF2 competitively at the highest level, you do it because you love the game and for no other reason, because there's never a prospect of it being a career. So I think all of us coming from that background together, we all migrated to Overwatch, and in fact, only one of our players had the beta access, and he only got it for the last month or something of open beta. I didn't play the game a single time until the weekend that you got just for pre-ordering the game. That was my first taste of Overwatch, and I was studying abroad in the Netherlands, playing on a MacBook Pro with boot camp.
Ouch.
Oh my god!
And actually, that season I got to top 500 in Europe on the MacBook.
On a MacBook?
I played a lot of Winston. I really came to love the character Winston. Could just
He's the best.
outsmart people. Didn't need to aim, which was a lot of fun. But then from there, I think we all sort of started to realize pretty quickly that we want to take the game seriously. Pretty quickly found each other through ranked play. We had 5 of 6 of our current roster from day one. We went through a few supports, but finally, picking up Avast, I think, was the best choice for us. And it's been really clear from our success. And then, after a while playing as Bird Noises, eventually we got sponsored. People were realizing, wow, this team's, dominating the North American scene. Okay, maybe they were sponsoring. They just beat 6 sponsored teams in a row in a tournament. Let's think about that.
Yeah.
Which was, sort of our evil plan all along.
Yeah,
it's
I know.
Not so evil.
I know when you guys got picked up by Hammer, people thought it was actually crazy great value for Hammer to get you guys. Were you guys approached by any bigger organizations?
We talked to a few different organizations, but it was all a lot of orgs really wanted to poach individuals from our team to enhance their current roster. I had standing offers from just trying to count 5 different tier 1, tier 2 orgs, but I didn't want to leave because I just didn't believe that any of those teams had the potential that my roster at 6 had.
Okay.
So, and then, there's a lot of our players had, individual poaching offers, but, not many teams are let's jettison our whole roster and pick up an entire new one. And I made it clear that that was the only kind of deal I would be interested in.
That's cool, man.
So you guys transitioned together from TF2, or you refound each other, or you maybe played against each other in TF2, or were
Yeah,
you a team?
I didn't train and Vol. I had actually played on the original TF2 Bird Noises together. It's a team that played in they played in Open for one season, then they won it the next season, then they played in Intermediate, and then they won it the season after that, and then they played in Invite for like 2 or 3 seasons. And then at that point, Overwatch was starting to come out, and it was like, okay, well, this is we all knew that we wanted to make the transition to like a serious esport with a real future, I think. And from there, we found each other just by the knowledge that we were all ex-TF2 players and that we were all like, really high-rated ranked players, and we knew that we had like the potential. And then from that core of 5, we just started scrimming, started working together, trying out new supports. Eventually, we moved through a process to get a Vast, and he had another team of TF2 players, but that team actually died, so we picked up a Vast from that dead team. And then from there, I think the rest is history. We all started playing together, and then pretty quickly after that, we started playing under Hammers Esports, and in our monthly melee, I would say, was the biggest tournament at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an awesome story to hear, that you guys kind of all came from TF2 together. That was literally the thing I was going to ask, is just like, who the hell are you guys? Because I've been watching this scene so closely for actually over a year now, since closed beta, and more than that, I know people from TF2, I know people from Quake, I know people from Tribes, and looking at your roster, I'm like, who are these guys coming in, taking first place last month in the Alienware monthly melee? Then this month you take second place. We saw the Rogue team eventually take first over the course of this weekend, but you've taken a first place, a second place. You're currently the #1 ranked team in the Overwatch Carbon series. This just started last week, but nonetheless, you're still 3-0 with the best map score right now. So I'm just sitting here wondering, like, I don't recognize these names. Where'd you guys come from? But it sounds like a little bit of camaraderie and an experience in the TF2 scene. But talk to us a little bit about what you've done to create the synergies that you have. What kind of practice regimen you have going into Carbon series and future tournaments and NA.
So as far as our practice goes, barring like tournaments, that have specific hour requirements, etc., we'll generally scrim 6 hours a day, 6 days a week. And that's just like with the team practice. And then I know everyone on the team plays probably 4 or 5 hours a day outside of that and just ranked. So we're all, I guess, in a very, very committed situation. We're all looking to position ourselves as well as possible for the Overwatch League, because that's, looking more and more like a reality for us. Aside from that, I guess like where we come from, I think it's interesting because you see, a lot of players and a lot of commentators and viewers of Overwatch, they say, oh my God, look at that. That's like a Quake legend. That guy's like the best in the world at Quake.
Yeah.
Quake. Like, how does anyone compete with that?
A whole team of that.
And yeah, exactly. Like they just picked up 6 top Quake pros, and they're just gonna dominate the scene. And I think there's 2 things I would say. The first is that we, as very effectively nobodies, didn't have any sort of early beta access. We didn't have anyone at Blizzard to put us in their family and friends list. Like there wasn't any option for that. So even though I signed up for the closed beta on the very, very first day that it was announced and it was available for public signups, didn't even get a free weekend throughout the entire process. Just didn't roll lucky. I don't think any of us did, actually.
Brutal.
Aside from Rob, who got in about 3 weeks before the end of it or something. So we all came in on day 1 as just Christmas noobs, effectively, just doing our best and competing against players who had played the game for months. And in the competitive scene, obviously we had no chance at the beginning. We're just, we're playing against people who played the game for 3 months more than us. So at the beginning, I think we definitely looked like a weaker team. I mean, started off playing the really small tournaments against other similarly skilled teams. But I think we always had the perspective that we knew that on an individual mechanical level, we could compete with anyone out there, that there's absolutely no one out there that we're scared to 1v1. There's no one out there that we're actually worried about on a mechanical level. And then from there, it came to an idea of building synergy. One thing is, it's always been my philosophy with the team to not cut players. Partly that's because I'm fortunate enough to have a roster of 6 that I actually just believe can compete at the highest level and doesn't need an update, doesn't need, oh, this is a weak player, we need to get rid of them and get pick up a Quake legend. I don't believe in that. And I believe that, a game like Overwatch, it actually is going to really punish teams that try to grow in that way and really reward teams that keep a stable core and don't change over time and build the synergies, build the interpersonal connections and trust that I think are really necessary to succeed in Overwatch.
Yeah, there's something
Well,
definitely to be said about growing together, progressing together, and not giving up on certain players like too soon, for whatever reason. I mean, a lot of these have to do with personalities and things. So whenever you have like a team that synergizes in that well, that's amazing. But I have to say, a lot of times decisions are made based on what they feel is mechanical reasons, and at times they give up on certain people. Whether it's the right or wrong decisions, really based on the scenario. But it's definitely great to hear that you're number one, you're loyal, and number two, that you kind of believe you believe in the potential of your team, and stick with it versus just trying to go for like quick fixes and that sort of thing. That's really cool.
like, you're pretty unique in
Yeah.
that. I mean, not a lot of current Overwatch teams have actually been together for any significant period of time. Everyone seems to be switching out players like as soon as something goes wrong. But
Yeah,
it sounds
one
like
bad
you just
result.
have a lot of mutual trust in each other.
I mean, I think it's the results speak for themselves for one, but I mean, partly that's you can't really separate that from us as players. Like maybe we're just really strong players. But what I really believe is that if you create that environment of trust within the team, wherein people aren't playing with the implicit concern, hey, look, if I start playing bad, I'm gonna get the axe because the team just is gonna pick up someone who can fill those shoes, and like that's just like an implicit threat at all times. And not that that's like I don't know, not that that makes it like impossible for a team to succeed, but it makes it makes the individual's perspective on the team to be that they need to be a performer, and if they're not a performer, then they're going to pick up someone who is. So the key problem I think that this creates, I mean, some people see that as like motivational. It's like everyone
Right.
needs to be performing at the highest level, but of course it's all perception, right? Like there's no objective way to measure a player's mechanical skill. Even something like accuracy is super misleading in a game like Overwatch when shooting shields is considered hitting shots. So and like decisions the player makes, there's so many intangibles in a game like Overwatch that I just don't believe in like numerical measures of skill. So the one thing I think that really is unique to having that environment of trust and players knowing that they're not just going to get cut because they aren't performing super well that night or that week or that month is that players have a feeling that they don't need to like prove themselves. Like you don't need to go into a game and be like, look, I'm going to go make a big play because I want to like show that I'm a really good player so that like the org knows I'm a good player and they don't cut me. Like I think if you're playing like that, you're not playing perfectly. You can't play perfectly because your incentive is somehow something other than win. And if it's anything other than win, then you're doing something wrong. Like you're going to make the wrong play. Even if it works out, it might have just been the wrong play. And then, also in a situation where, let's say I, as a team captain, I don't actually know what went wrong in a push. We lose a fight. I say, what happened? Like, what do we do? Is that a bad strategy? Like, do we need to change the composition? Do we need to call a different strategy? Like, was that a compositional mistake? And in a situation where players feel like they have to appear to be really strong players, maybe someone made a grave error that push, and they know that they just made a mechanical mistake or they should have won a fight, but they didn't. Maybe they don't speak up because they don't want to be known that that's something that happened. Whereas when they do speak up and one of my players says, look, I messed up. Like I lost a fight. I should have won it. It was advantaged. It was a good fight. He out DM'd me. My bad. Then I know that the strategy is solid, right? Like we have that trust that let's just do it again. Like literally just run that play again and it'll work this time because we know the strategy is solid and people can learn from their mistakes in a community environment. Yeah. And I just don't think it's possible to have that under the threat of perform or get cut.
That's a great perspective, dude. I mean, it's so great and refreshing to hear that coming from you, and especially you being a pretty young captain of a team. I mean, this is great. I mean, I think this is an attribute that's really good for leaders, and it's great to hear. It's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, it really is. If you look at CS:GO, there's a parallel there. Virtus Pro. The same roster has been around for almost 4 years now, and they won. The last time they had won a major tournament was like years ago. Yet they stuck together, and now they're all of a sudden winning all these tournaments again, and just took home a win at DreamHack Las Vegas and made it to the finals of the last major and all that. So it's really great to hear your perspective there, Jake. I'm much appreciated. And I mean, let's look at the results from this last weekend. In the Alienware Monthly Melee, you beat Luminosity, you beat FaZe Clan, you beat Complexity, you beat Immortals. It was only Rogue, the fully French squad in their final form, that took you down in the end. But you basically had to run through all of North America's best teams to get there. Sounds like you expected that kind of result, though. You have a lot of trust in your team.
Yeah, I mean, I would say on day one in the group stage, we just felt like we didn't really perform to our expectations. We went down 0-2 to Rogue. We went down 2-1 to Renegades. We beat FaZe 2-1, but it was closer than we would have liked. Honestly, there was a lot of like close results on in the group stage, but ultimately we came out the lower on the bad side of them more often than not. And I think for us that was a disappointment because the last Alienware group stages we swept 6-0. We basically did what Rogue did, where we dropped 2 maps in the entire tournament. Which was, it's a great feeling to have as a team to like play at that level. So we were all sort of hoping for that same level of results, like looking to just repeat that again. But after the day of the group stages, we had to take a big step back and reflect and like talk things over. I mean, we spent like 2 or 3 hours just in Discord together, just talking about, what went wrong, like who was playing what, like how do we need to strategically reassess this? Like, should we be putting different players on different roles? We need to be, like playing our more comfort classes. And I think the biggest thing was as a team, we were able to come into day 2 feeling really refreshed and feeling like in the bracket play that even though we're starting in the lower bracket, always one game or one series from elimination, that we were ready to go back to the grand finals. Like that we felt like our the only real opponent that we would be worried about was Rogue. And I mean, not that the other teams aren't really solid, but we just felt like we could beat every other team, and that Rogue was the real one that we were going to have to play at absolutely 100% to defeat.
Yeah.
And I think that mentality is really valuable because we as a team have always had a lot of confidence in each other, a lot of trust in each other. I've had times in matches where we used to have strategy that we've never run before, and a player's just like, look, like let me just switch to this character, like this will work. Like I know that I can just fill my role better if I'm on this class. And we've had the trust to be like, look, go for it. Like I trust you. Like how are you gonna tell us what you're gonna do so we can work around it. But like let's make it happen. Like leave the space open for players to innovate like that. And I think that really shows when we're able to come back from a really poor group stage performance and bring it all the way back to get second place in the whole tournament. Against Rogue in specific, I would say part of it was fatigue, given that we had just been playing. We had played 6 series that day, like a total of something like 15 maps. Throughout the day, and I personally hadn't eaten since breakfast. I think most of the players hadn't eaten for 12 hours something before we played Rogue, which was just a mistake. We should have taken we had an hour somewhere to go eat food, but we just didn't. We were watching the other games that were on stream, trying to research our opponents. So we ended up kind of running out of steam. And I think despite the fact that we were able to take a map off Rogue, which we were really happy about, nice to draw blood, we felt like we didn't play our best on Lijiang and ended up losing that map. And I think everyone on the stream could probably see that Rogue was the stronger team in that series for sure. So I don't want to make any excuses for that. Just to say that I'm really looking forward to the rematch.
I feel like you guys were getting more and more comfortable as that series was going on, and it showed obviously in Dorado when you guys ended up taking the map. But even just Dorado, I think the beginning of Dorado, it was they were up obviously 2-0 on you guys, but as Dorado was even going more on and on and on, I feel like you guys were getting the better end of some exchanges, and obviously the 4 tank at the end strategically ended up working really well for you guys. But this whole progression, and this might not be necessarily how you guys look at it, but at least from us, being pundits and liking to talk about storylines and things, this whole progression from team, just like even where you guys started, having to basically win or be one of the best teams in NA, which I feel like you guys already are, whether it's you guys, Immortals, or maybe even Renegade in that discussion. But you guys have cleared that hurdle for now, already. So going against Rogue, I mean, do you guys look at it that way? Do you guys look at it as okay, the next tier are basically what a lot of people call tier 1s, whatever in the community? Do you look at that? Do you look at that, and how do you guys feel compared to those teams right now?
I would say we as a team go into every game with the really strong conviction that we can win, no matter who our opponent is, no matter how strong they've been playing, no matter how even every match we're down 2 in a series, and we believe that we can win. We're ready to give it all and pull out the quad tank. We went back to our roots, went back to our comfort picks, which I don't think is actually a genuinely really strong composition this patch. I just think against what Rogue is running, it's a really, really powerful counterplay. Mm-hmm. And it seems that it sort of punishes Rogue's unwillingness or maybe inability to run those more static tank compositions, which I honestly think triple tank should just always be quad tank in the current patch. It's just more versatile and less heal dependent on Alna with a weakened bio grenade. But since Rogue is really resistant to running those kind of lineups, then the quad tank can work because it really does punish their inability to burst extremely high health targets. So I think from our perspective, it's breaking into that upper echelon is has always been sort of a reality for us. We've always sort of believed that we could be there, and we already were there, regardless of where the Ghost rankings are, regardless of what our history is. We're playing against these teams with infinitely more experience than us, infinitely more just proven success than us. And I think our reaction to that has always been like, well, like, let's just go out there and win, right? Like, let's just, like we can, especially when we're the underdogs, it's a great feeling to just, go out there and play fearlessly, play without the fear of losing, play like with the strong belief that, our teammates can win every fight and we have the potential to play at the highest level. I would say the biggest thing for us is playing against teams like Envy that have just been in Korea forever, that we would love to play, we would love to practice against, but we just have never gotten the chance to, because they were in Korea when we formed as a team. They were in Korea, so
yeah, that was the next question I was going to ask you. Like, who do you get a chance to scrimmage these days?
We do a lot of blocks against LG. They've been a really strong team. I think they've been having some struggles recently, but I really believe in that team. I think they have a lot of potential, and there's a lot of real talent on that roster. A lot of scrim blocks against LG. Selfless has been another just really, really impressive North American team right now. I mean, I don't know what their rank is, but I would say they're top 10 NA easily. They're not in the Overwatch Carbon series, which I think is to the detriment of the series. I think they're actually really absolutely deserve to be in the top 6
of the hottest
NA.
Teams,
Yeah, and I think that was partly because when they were doing invites, Selfless hadn't quite shown that, and they hadn't quite really gelled with their new roster yet. But we really enjoy scrimming them. They're a powerhouse team for sure. So they push us to improve every scrim block. We scrimmed a bit against NRG's new roster. Scrimmed a bit against Complexity.
Mostly NA teams.
Renegades a lot. Yeah, NA teams. I mean, we've scrimmed a very, very small amount against Euro teams. We actually scrim Rogue now, but now that they're actually in NA.
Yeah, that's great.
It's mostly like a ping and time and a time difference thing. Like, I think no one wants to play on 150 ping if they don't have to, and like the Europeans, if they're playing during our scrim blocks, it's like 4 a.m. and if we're playing during their scrim blocks, it's like 8 in the morning. It's like neither one are really going to work for us. So
yeah. Okay, well, we'll kind of wanted to get your thoughts on the meta, and we'll kind of transition into the patch notes after this, given that there's going to be a big old possible change in the meta. But what are your thoughts on the meta currently, pre-patch?
Love it. I really like that it actually opens stylistic doors for teams, wherein in every previous patch there had been a clearly dominant composition, and if you weren't running that composition 9 times out of 10 you were losing. I think that's a really stifling way to play the game. It's just like, well, like, let's just pick the good comp, and it's kind of brain dead. It's like, well, I mean, playing the comp requires coordination and skill and intelligence, but not being able to genuinely choose a comp, or not being able to genuinely choose more than like one flex hero, is a really, really limiting thing for a game with as many heroes, as many options as Overwatch. And I think the more doors are open as far as hero picks, and the greater the number of viable team compositions, the more fun it is to play, the more fun it is to watch. I love to see different strategies clash, different heroes clash, and how those unique interactions play out, rather than which Reaper gets the ult the faster and just like runs into your team and kills you all. Like, that just like wasn't fun. It was like it's stifling. Even if you win games, you're just like, well, like, we know why we won. I mean, our Reaper like did more and we killed your whole team faster. But it just wasn't. It limited the strategic space. And for me as a captain, I would say that's the most enjoyable part of the game, is that delving into the strategic depths.
The problem-solving aspect of it. Ben, what do you think, man? What do you think about the current meta?
It's in such a good spot. I mean, it's never actually been this free-flowing, this free-form before. Because if you look at the meta, it's easy to say like the biggest change is that we've seen these 3 DPS dive comps, a lot more focus on Genjis and Pharahs and Tracers than ever before. But you guys proved that quad tank is actually still viable in this meta too. So you can do triple tank, you can do quad tank, you can do 3 DPS, you can do 2-2-2, you can throw Widowmakers in there. It basically seems like, on defense, we're seeing a little bit more Symmetra, we're seeing a little bit more Torb, we're seeing a little bit more of those types of things. So it honestly feels like anything is viable. There are only a few characters which aren't fitting into the meta at all right now, which has been the case now for a really long time. But right now, like, the DPS meta is wide open, like tank meta is wide open. We're even seeing a little bit more flexibility with support. Obviously, when you've got Pharah, it makes Mercy a lot more viable as well. So we're seeing a little bit more Mercy. Pharah Mercy is really hard to kill, so sometimes you see Zenyatta for the Discord orbs. So it's just wide open right now, and there's really no one strategy, as you mentioned, Jake, and that's a great thing.
Yeah, I'll go on record and say I think the meta right now is the best it's ever been in Overwatch. From a standpoint of players, from the standpoint of spectators too. This is probably the best spectating experience I've had. I mean, not necessarily from like spectator mode and stuff like that, but just as a player, just seeing strategies, seeing, you know, what highest level competitive Overwatch was meant to be. I've been able to see that in the last month and a half or so, and I mean, Apex was a perfect example. I think some of the recent matches is like you're seeing teams just free flowing, changing characters literally as encountering constantly through games, and we're not talking about after like maybe one or two exchanges, and it's like, oh, okay, I guess we should change. No, it's like instant free flowing changes, like no indecisiveness there, and it's like awesome to watch because you literally see the gambit of everything being thrown out there in a single game. The Widows in one game, Tracers, you know, being a constant in a lot of games, and the Genji or McCree to counter that. You know, you're just constantly seeing that type of you know, just strategic moves, and it's like awesome to see. And I hope they don't get into this mode where they feel like they have to make every character viable. You know, kind of like what you were saying there, Ben, because if they do get into that, then we get into possible patch changes like that are being released today, where, you know, Bastion was obviously a character that has not seen that much play. You know, maybe here and there it popped up on, I don't know, Ilios. You know, C9 ran it like months ago, every once in a while on some of, you know, just one of the maps, and it would just pop up every so often. But for the most part, that wasn't played at all, right? And I feel like they're trying to make Bastion something that's viable, and maybe this is like an overreaction to the whole triple tank, 4 tank. Exactly. So why don't we talk about the patch? These patches are things that we've definitely, at least most of the things we've talked about with the PTR patches, but this is going live today, and you know, there are definitely some things that a lot of us didn't expect would actually make it in, and it's actually out there now in the wild. And the, you know, competitive Overwatch, Apex, you know, Final 8 are going to have to be dealing with it. Even Carbon Series that Jake's going to be playing in tonight. I don't know, maybe not as soon as tonight, but definitely in a week or so. I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing Bastion like in every single game. So, so should we just go through it? You want to just go through it? You want to just start with Bastion? Let's just start with Bastion.
I mean, we've talked about most of these changes because this is something we've talked about on the show before. Basically, everything that was in the PTR just went to live. I might be missing something.
There's never been a change that's gone to the PTR that hasn't made it to live. Never.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Everything.
Yeah.
The
they
last
don't use
state
PTR to test balance. They only use it for like bugs, which.
Well,
there's another talking point there,
exactly,
but let's go through this first. Jake, you made a bold claim before we started the show. You think Bastion's totally broken?
I think Bastion is a permanent pick. I don't think you're going to see a game without him unless you see the team losing without him, because I actually think they just broke the character. I mean, the funny thing is I actually love like all the changes, with the exception of the Ironclad passive. I think that it's a game-breaking passive, and I think it makes the game like really unfun because of like the kind of play that it's going to motivate. But I also think that the buffs to recon mode make the character itself like really wide open, really viable. One thing is they radically decrease the spread on recon 25%. That's a massive spread decrease. That's a very accurate 25 bullet.
It basically makes his gun like 76, right?
Actually, he does
better.
more damage than 76.
Yeah.
Slightly lower rounds per second. So it's like the DPS is a slightly lower value than a Soldier 76. But considering it's a recon mode Bastion with like 100 armor on 76, it's like it makes the character. I mean, the character's hitbox is bigger. There's some intangibles there, but the self repair. There's a lot of factors now where it's a recon mode Bastion is a genuinely viable like fighting DPS hero. You don't even need to go into the turret form to make the hero good, which is huge, because before recon Bastion is like try not to die while you get into the spot that you want to set up on the turret. That's like the purpose of that mode, right? You're only picking Bastion to go into turret form. And you're still only picking Bastion to go into turret form, like with the changes. It's just that they've buffed every aspect of the character essentially. I mean, there's a couple slight nerfs like taking away headshots, but on sentry mode. But that's an extremely small change. when you consider
Yeah.
that like a huge part of the utility of Bastion is just breaking shields, and he's just better at that. He's like there's no like he didn't get any worse at that. He just got a lot better at that. You turn into the turret much faster. You have 0.5 seconds less to turn into the turret form, which is the most vulnerable stage of Bastion. Before it was 1.5 seconds, now it's just 1. That's huge. You can jump, turn into turret form in the air, and while you hit the ground, you're firing. I mean, that's very, very fast.
Yeah,
and it's very, very dangerous.
It's crazy fast, and I mean, definitely Bastion got the Diva on a treatment, this patch. But let's talk about the Ironclad, because you brought that up first. And just for folks that are listening that don't know exactly what that is, that's basically Bastion takes 35% less damage while in Sentry or Tank.
Chris, you need to show the GIF if you have it.
Oh, let me get it.
If you have it.
Yeah, so there are a bunch
crazy.
of...
I think they clearly illustrate the problem in some ways.
There's a bunch of GIFs that are floating around, different scenarios where this is at its worst, or just showing like how powerful it is. Where's that GIF? Where'd you send it to me? You sent it to me, right? Oh, no, somebody tweeted it to me. Somebody tweeted it to me.
Yeah, I think it's on Reddit. But I guess we will have a lot of audio listeners as well. But
yeah. Why don't you explain it while I find it?
Go ahead and spoil it before we have it up on stream. Basically, Bastion in Sentry mode while healing out heals being in the dead center of a Hanzo Dragon ultimate. You can stand in the middle of a Hanzo ult and out heal it.
You actually drop
not even out heal it.
While you're healing it, you drop to about 180 HP before the end of the dragon. Does about 100 damage to you.
It's just 100 damage to you.
It's cool. It's cool. That's an ultimate that goes through walls and is supposed to like one-shot things that are standing still. The whole point of the ultimate is to kill things that aren't moving. It's supposed to be like Bastion, a counter to extreme turtle strategies, but now it doesn't work, which is unlucky, honestly.
So if a Hanzo ult can't kill a Bastion, what can?
Another Bastion.
Yeah, I mean, you were even saying Deadeye, right? You were even talking about the example with Deadeye. Why don't you explain that?
Yeah, so with the nano boost on, right, which you guys should know. So the Ironclad passive is a 35% damage resist, and the nano boost passive is a 50% damage resist on top of the 50% damage amp. So weirdly, like in a lot of games, these would be multiplicative. So i.e., you're taking 50% of the actual damage from your nano because you have nano boost on, and then of that 50% damage, let's say you took 100, then you would actually take 50, and then that 50 damage normally in a lot of games would be reduced by 35%. So and that's multiplicative damage. It would be the 35% applied to the 50 damage. But in this game, they're additive damage resistance. So your effective damage resistance is 85% with a nano boost in turret form, which you can imagine that's a very high number. A couple of instances of, you might think, okay, well, then maybe since Bastion can heal so fast, we need to use burst damage to kill him. Well, it turns out that with Nano Boost, a fully charged Deadeye does 250 damage to the Bastion. And that's a 6-second channel staring at a Bastion. He can break the Rhine shield in like 3 seconds. So I don't know how you're going to channel a Deadeye looking at him for 6. But, whatever. So let's say you can. You sleep him and you do it's like the Halloween brawl where you sleep the boss and then you hit a full charge Nano Deadeye. But it doesn't kill him. It's
freaking
so surprising. It's a little bit wow. That's an interesting game mechanic.
I can't find the GIF for some reason. I thought somebody tweeted it to me, but
I don't remember where it came from either.
Did I tweet it to you?
No, I think I saw it on Discord or something.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Discord.
I'll have to find it later and put it in the notes, and then you guys can check it out later. Let me see. Oh, actually, no. Jake just sent. Here it is. Okay. You guys see it? Oh, there it is. Oh my god. Look at that. I mean, he's like at full health. Wait, no, he's not.
Yeah, he's drops like his armor is almost depleted at the end of the dragon. Like, because it does very slightly more damage per second than you're healing.
God.
But, not enough to kill you because it only lasts for a few seconds.
Okay. Obviously something wrong with that. I mean, and what sucks is like, I just talked about how the meta's in such a beautiful state right now, and this is just literally going to destroy that. Whether it's still interesting in some way, I mean, or not, but whatever it is, it's going to homogenize at least the Bastion part of it. At least that's what I think what we're anticipating.
Yeah, maybe I'm over predicting it, but I think the real problem with the meta where Bastion is like a really key pick is that, like, let's say on a Koth map, let's say you're running Bastions on Koth map. So the mid fight is probably gonna be really interesting because it's like, how does each Bastion outplay the other? There's like, and like, how does the team support them, and how does that whole situation play out? There's like a lot of nuance there, and that could be fun. The problem is that when you're pushing back into mid, inevitably you're pushing back into a turret Bastion, which is like, it's not fun. And unless, I mean, you could switch off Bastion and go to one of his counters, but if he has 35% damage resistance and a constant, pocket by Ana, good luck with that. And then when you really do, and you commit all your resources to get on that Bastion, and he gets the nano boost on him, he's immortal. You're not going to kill him. It's just not possible. Like, I don't know how it happens. If you can't, full charge Deadeye is basically something that is like, it's never going to happen in the game. You're never actually going to get a full charge Deadeye on someone because they'll leave. Like, they'll get out of your line of sight. But Bastion doesn't have to. Bastion could just stand there. He could just take it.
That's crazy. He can just be shooting the entire time. Yeah.
He can shoot you. He can just kill you
exactly.
before you get it off.
He can kill you, or he can just be killing everybody and knowing that he's not going to even die from that thing. So it's obviously broken. So it's very surprising that it even made it out of the PTR. It makes you wonder if there's just even enough data to really, make that apparent. But 35%, I mean, I feel like these are kind of things that they should just know would happen. So either they want this kind of thing to happen, or, I mean, they somehow missed it. But 35% is so large. If it was like 15%, it still would have been a nice addition to Bastion. Still probably would have made Bastion, stronger and possibly played a lot. But 35 is just to the point where it's absurdity.
I think this patch more than any other highlights something that I think is a key flaw in Blizzard's balancing strategy, which is, I think that you should, as much as possible, you should do incremental statistical changes to heroes. When you
they normally do, though, right?
When you make things like when you rework things and you make things work in a fundamentally different way, I think it's a really big mistake to pair those with like statistical changes. For instance, I really like a lot of the changes on Bastion. I think that the being able to repair while taking damage is a really cool change. Being able to repair while moving is a really cool change.
Yeah, those are great.
They do open up, and maybe even turning in a turret farm faster is a awesome change. I actually think that if they just took away the 35% and made it either a much smaller value or took it away entirely and gave Bastion maybe a little more armor or something, I think this would be a great patch, because I think it would open Bastion up, but not, put him to this, incredibly insane, immortal, turret god status.
Well, not shake
the real issue.
Not shake status quo either. It'd just be another option to add to add to this nice meta that we have.
Yeah, maybe there's a situation where it's like, it makes sense, right? We have the nano boost and no other ults. Let's pull out the Bastion because we're ready to like set him up on cart and like nano him, or like we need the Bastion because we think we can get a defense here. Like, it opens up a lot more options to pick Bastion in a situation in which he's going to be good. But then if you buff him too far, you just say, what situation is going to be good for Bastion? Every situation. Like, we're never getting off him.
Right.
Which I just don't think is fun. I just don't think any character being that way. I don't think it was fun when Reaper was that way. And I think Bastion as a hero is sort of like an anti-fun hero, you might say. Yeah. Because it just basically punishes anything other than sitting in a tiny death ball behind a Rhine shield. Which, is not a bad way to play the game. But if you have no other choice, is a really, poor balance decision, I think.
Well, there were a couple other changes.
Yeah, definitely going to go through the rest of them here.
All of which we've talked about, I think, previous show, show or the one before. But I did want to get Jake's take on some of these. I think, obviously, eyeballing these, some of these are substantial, some of these are more subtle. For me, the Roadhog one is by far the most interesting, though. Basically, if you're not caught up just yet, they increased the cooldown on his hook from 6 to 8 seconds, which is something we've been hoping for a really long time. And they also gave him a slight nerf, I guess, in that targets are now pulled 3.5 meters away from Roadhog instead of 2 meters. However, they gave him a very substantial buff with the scrap gun. Now the spread has been decreased by 20%. So you're actually going to be able to do substantial amounts of damage to enemies in the immediate vicinity. If you don't have a hook, his gun is going to be much more accurate. And while there is the cooldown increase and the distance increase as well, I think a lot of people are assuming this is going to be kind of a buff to Roadhog. What do you think, Jake?
I think I like the change in that I think it's a very significant buff to the highest level of play, and at the same time a significant nerf to like the lower and medium tiers of play and like competitive ranked play. Because the gun is something that relies on, very precise aiming, especially the right click, like leading targets and you have to be at a very, very precise range to maximize damage. The same goes for left click, right? They're very like nuanced. It's a very nuanced hero because you're aiming at like you might like 3 different ranges simultaneously, which has always made the hero really rich and fun. And I think it'll add to that aspect of the hero while like maybe minimizing or slightly decreasing the crucial primary importance of the hook, which has always been the story of Roadhog in the past. I think the thing with the hook that's weird is given that the spread is smaller, that you're still going to be able to one shot. I think the idea is you're still going to be able to one shot, a squishy target, right? Like a support, you should be able to one shot them, right? They shouldn't survive a hook. That's something I think Blizzard is very comfortable with. But it was a little strange that you could deal 350 damage to a Zarya and just like almost evaporate her, or when you hook another Roadhog and you deal 400 to his face, it's it makes the matchup feel extremely swingy. So I think this should alleviate that a little bit. Make Roadhog less of a tank buster, also a support killer, also a flanker killer. And like he kind of was a little bit too much of a jack of all trades. But I think the gun is now extremely powerful, and if used right, is going to just turn this hero into a standard DPS just for his ability to output damage at a much more significant range.
But good changes overall, I think.
I think it'll change his playstyle, but I think it's a buff, honestly. I think at the end of the day, for the top players, this is going to be a significant buff because the hook cooldown is the only real nerf here. The nerf to the hook is significant, but it also made Roadhog have to be played much more passively because if you get hooked by the enemy Roadhog, you're basically dead. Like their team only had to do 150 damage to the Roadhog on top of your Roadhog's hook. So you had to play Roadhog more passively. You were very, very scared of being hooked by an enemy hog. Now that the hog is only going to do maybe 350 damage to you, you have a lot more potential to counter hook and kill them. So Roadhog can be played a little bit more aggressively. So I think honestly this is going to open things up in a big way for the hero. It's going to be a little more versatile, which I really do like. But I think in the net it's going to be a big buff. We'll see.
Definitely one of the characters you've been playing recently, so it'll be great to see you take advantage of that.
How else are you going to kill the Bastions other than a hook?
Yeah. I mean, Roadhog's I think going to be a part of the meta. I think Mei would work. Although I just think Mei is. I'm really sad they didn't buff Mei. I think Mei's irrelevant right now, with the exception of the maps where she's broken.
Even on defense, really?
Which I think it's an unhealthy situation because right now you only run Mei on the maps where she's like busted basically, and like the wall is some insane ability that can completely separate a team. Which is like you have maps like Hanamura, where it's like wow, this hero's incredible. It can just lock off any one choke. That's like a huge ability. I think the problem is increasing the relevance of Bastion. You can break a Mei wall in about half a second with a Bastion, which is going to be an implicit nerf to Mei if that hero is picked more. And I think Mei as a hero has felt really, really weak with the exception of those niche scenarios, which I honestly think are map design flaws more so than they are situations in which Mei is a good hero. I don't think it's fun to have a hero that like can, that has like I don't think the ice wall is like a very fun or interactive ability in maps like Hanamura, where it basically forces you to run an entirely different team composition or push in an entirely different manner as a response to Mei.
Yeah.
So the value you're getting is just by denying the enemy's game plan, which I mean I guess is valuable, but I don't think it's a great healthy place for the hero to be. I had a lot of fun on her when she was more viable because the ult built faster. Now I don't think that's the way you need to buff her, but I think it'd be like Bastion. I think she deserves a buff that makes her more flexible and more viable in different situations.
Yeah, I feel like her and Sombra are in the same boat here, where it's just like it's very heavy in the value of their ults, and the rest of it is just a bit weak now compared to everything.
I still want to see the Mei buff that people theorized when she was first launched, where you just spray the ice in front of you and then you can slide. That would
just faster.
That would
so
be
like Ice Girl, basically.
That would be so much fun, man. One can dream. One can dream.
That would be pretty sweet.
Jeff Goodman, if you're watching the show.
Frozone Mei.
So I noticed a couple other things I just want to mention. One thing is just concerning consoles. I know we don't play consoles, but it's kind of interesting that they added damage for Torbjorn's turret and sentries and Symmetra's sentries. Given that I thought turrets were a
Well,
problem
they
at one
nerfed it.
point.
They're
I know.
mitigating a past nerf.
Yeah,
they're,
okay. So maybe
mitigating.
it's just too
They're
much.
mitigating a nerf that was originally
Yeah.
applied because apparently it was a little too strong.
Yeah. So now
because the Torbjorn turret was like very, very overpowered on console because auto aim is much better than controllers, whereas auto aim in PC isn't actually that much better than a mouse.
Right. So the player base must have gotten better. So now
yeah,
they can.
I think that's part of it also.
Yeah, it's good to see that they reverted. One other thing I noticed, which I guess I didn't catch before, was the respawn delay. Did you guys see that?
Yeah, so this was snuck in.
I did not even know about this. Yeah.
Was this even in PTR?
No, it was Iconball. I know Iconball when we talked about it was there, but not respawn delay.
This is the change of the patch, and if there's one thing that they keep, this is the best change to the patch. I think this is
okay. Let's talk.
I think you have assault maps absolutely plagued by a situation in which first point is almost impossible to defend, and second point is almost impossible to attack. And it's like it breeds draws. Like draws are far more likely on the map, and a draw is not satisfying, right? I don't think you should have game design that promotes draws. I would rather play like 2 full rounds of offense and defense on Temple of Anubis than 1 round of offense in which we take point A and fail to take point 2, and then 1 round of defense in which we lose point A and then hold point B. Like it's like not it doesn't feel entertaining to hold 1 point for 6 minutes. So I think this kind of change opens things up for attackers. It lets you burst 3 heroes and then go on to win the fight because the defenders have slow spawns. So it makes the attackers basically have a much easier time closing out maps, which I think is a healthy thing for the game, especially when situation in which over time all it is just like a replay of the map. So there's no you're just trying to structure your advantage. You're trying to give yourself the maximum advantage going into round 2, rather than like genuinely expecting that like holding point 2 is always possible, which it really is, and I don't think is very fun.
Well, let's just read this out in its entirety here, so everyone understands. And I'll put a caveat here that there's a lot of details missing that I don't think we actually know yet. We need to do some testing to learn what this actually means. But here's what it says in the patch notes. When attackers outnumber defenders while taking control point on Assault, Escort, and Assault Escort hybrid maps, the defender's respawn time will slowly increase until it hits a maximum value or the defense manages to gain the upper hand. So basically what this means, and everyone knows this situation, you've all been in it dozens of times, I'm sure, where you're on second point Hanamura, you get 2 or 3 kills to open things up, but there's a Mei that pops on the field. She ice blocks, then she ice walls, and slowly but surely divas, tracers, Winstons, whatever, make their way back into the point. So even though the attacking team is up 1, 2, 3 players, they can't finish it out because the stall continues and continues and continues. And if anyone on the attacking team dies in the course of that fight, then there's actually a good chance that defense is able to respawn and retake the advantage. In this scenario, if you get those 2 or 3 kills to start off, even if they're able to delay a little bit, like let's say a Mei gets onto the point, if they're down, if they have less people on the point than the attacking team, it'll make the defenders respawn more slowly, so that in theory, you shouldn't have these situations where you go full, as we've always been calling it actually since the beginning, stall, where you go full stall comp, Tracer, Diva, Mei. That in theory shouldn't work anymore. And so glad that they're addressing this. Everyone's been talking about this for the longest time, but I can't help but feel like this feels like a Band-Aid. I mean, if it works, it works, and I'm totally happy. But this is like not something that's easy to understand, not something that's going to be easy to commentate, like as a commentator, not something that is going to be like super easy to keep in your head. Like you're gonna have to keep a tally, how many people have been on or off the point for how long. So this very much feels like a Band-Aid, but a welcome Band-Aid.
It's one of those things where you're going to hope that the audience or the spectators, the viewers, are just eventually just educated about it, so you don't have to explain it constantly, right?
Yeah,
because
I don't think we're going to need to. But
it will definitely be weird. The only thing that worries about me, and I agree, this is a good Band-Aid for the fact that these maps exist and they actually are in tournament play and they are being picked, but I just hope that doesn't mean they're going to make more of these maps, because it's always just been a design. Like they should not have made this type of game format, or at least designed the maps to be in this way. And I was hoping they would get away from that and just come up with something new, and eventually we would just do away with 2 CPs. But this could be a sign that there's they think that 2 CPs is still very good and very viable for competitive play, and they want to make more of them. So how would you feel about that?
It shows in that Blizzard forces tournaments over $10,000 that are partnering with Blizzard to not do map drafting, because when they do map drafting, no one ever plays 2CP because no one likes it, and it's not fun. It breeds draws. When you go to a 2CP, I'm like, my team is literally hoping to draw so that we can go play a best of one on a COD because we feel much more confident there.
That's
we feel like that there's actually going to be player interaction. You know, like it's the opposite of what they want in their game. And I think the problem spawn timers has is a crucial thing in those maps, though. The fact that your offense and defense spawns are basically the same, while your defenders are 2 seconds from getting to the point, and the attackers are 15 seconds from getting to the point. That's the real problem, right? Because now you're in a situation where unless you need to wipe the team, like you need to crush the team in the current path. I mean, now before this went live, you needed to absolutely annihilate the defenders. And you literally had to do it in like 5 seconds. Because if you didn't start getting that cap pressure on, you're about to get delayed for 30 seconds. And even if you do finally cap the point, it's going to be like 3 minutes after your initial push. That's not fun. It's not like entertaining to like have a Mei sitting in ice block in the corner. You're like, all right, well, time this pin perfectly so we can kill the Mei as fast as possible. Like, just because that was like the min-maxing strategy, and that's what you had to do. It wasn't an entertaining gameplay element, not for the Mei, not for the defender, or not for the attackers. And I think spawn timers begin to address this problem. And I like the way they've approached it, because it's like it punishes your team for losing players quickly during the team fight. So you can't just have your one Mei stay alive and get an 11-second delay with the max time ice wall and the max time ice block. It eliminates sort of the absurdity of that kind of strategy that would just buy your team like 2 entire spawn waves, which I think was a really big issue and not fun to play with or against. So I like what they've done, although obviously, like you guys are saying, there's more details. I need to test this. I need to look at how long are the spawns when you're up 6-0, 5-1, 6-1. Like what's the player difference? How does that translate? What is the maximum value? What's the maximum advantage? Like maybe the maximum spawn increase is capped at a +3 player advantage, maybe +4. And knowing those figures is going to be a crucial element of playing these maps and how you choose to attack them, right? Because maybe you're looking like, let's say the maximum is 3 players. You're looking for a 3-man grab and to kill those 3 players really quickly to maximize their spawn time. Yeah. But depending on what that number is, it's going to change how you play. So I don't like that they did it in this opaque way. I really wish they had actually just gone into the detail in the patch notes to be like, look, okay, X player differential is gonna imply multiplied by Y number of seconds is going to increase.
It's like this crazy freaking calculus.
They would have to. I mean, they have to. Like, but like, I wish they would just do it instead of making like players go out and like literally just like get 12 people in a server in order to test this.
Well, it's going to be very difficult to get the right number, because you don't want the defenders to feel like they're being cheated now either. So it's like this whole distance versus time thing, and having to figure out how to make that even. Because
a situation in which 2CP is impossible to hold second.
That's what I mean. Like, so we haven't even talked about the first point. What about the first point?
Yeah, I mean, this makes the first point even harder to hold, right?
Yeah. So like the attacker has advantage on the first point. So it's like, what? I mean, you didn't do anything to help that out. So it's a Band-Aid. I think overall it will be better, but it is not elegant at all. And for the most part in this game, Overwatch, many things have been very, like design-wise, I feel like are elegantly done. And, maybe it takes a few iterations to finally get there, but this one is definitely not. This one, you just need to redesign maps, and maybe even do away with the game format. So
I think if you made forward spawns in 2CP, like i.e. for the defenders, they spawn forward.
They just need to do that.
You just plug a forward spawn in some corner of the map.
They do it. They do it on payload.
It would make first point much more defensible. And I think I would have loved to see this change in concert with a forward spawn for first change. Yeah. Just to make it less of a situation in which you're just like, well, how much time can we bleed on first point because we know we're going to lose it. Like not and when your team fails to push first on 2CP, it means you're getting completely outplayed. Like there's no other two ways about it. My team got first held on Anubis last night against LG. They did a great job, and we got obliterated. They just outplayed us every fight. But it took that level of outplay to get the first hold. Like they had to play really, really well, and we had to make a lot of mistakes in order to achieve that. And I don't think that's a healthy way for the map to go, or for maps in general to go. Because I mean, that kind of outplay is rare, and I don't think it should be so rare, right? Like you should feel like it's actually possible to achieve that, and not in like a 1 in 100 situation, but maybe like 1 in 5, 1 in 10. We just need to play pretty well to achieve this. Yeah. But making it feel impossible doesn't feel fun. It doesn't feel interactive, and especially in a rank setting where not everyone is like 100% trying to win all the time. People are like, oh, whatever, give up on first. We're holding second. whatever.
There's no scenario where it wouldn't apply, in my opinion, whether it's casual or it's whatever. I think it's good just to make even maps, and it might be hard for them to add another starting spot, spawn point on these maps currently. I don't know if it is or not, but yeah, I feel like that would be more of an elegant add, and then maybe tweak this a tiny bit versus just trying to rely purely on this, where this is even one side. This isn't even fair either. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I'll be curious to see what you guys end up deciding after maybe a week or two. How it's been or how it's turning out. But the fact that it is transparent, I'm sure folks on Reddit will eventually figure out exactly the numbers. So we'll have those numbers soon.
Yeah, but, they probably already did.
Yeah, you think they already did?
I mean, it would take 10 minutes, but it's just something that people are gonna have to do.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, I don't think there's anything else I wanted to bring up, unless there is something, Ben, that you wanted to talk about, or even you, Jake, that you know of. I
love the icon wall change. It's a small thing, but I love it. I mean, I felt like that was the problem with icon wall. I mean, my team actually employed a strategy where we would repeatedly dry fight without pushing the cart past 12 meters because 12 on last, because 12 meters is the point at which the door closes. So you push it to 10 meters and then you run in and you die. And then you don't ever push the cart again. You just keep running in and fighting until you have 6 ults. And then you crush them, you wipe them, and then you push it all the way because you can hold them in spawn, and you set up so you have enough ults to win 2 successive fights. And you don't close the door until you have enough ults to guarantee 2 fights. Because if you let that door close, you run the very, very significant chance of losing every fight from there on out, because it's incredibly hard to push into without extreme coordination, the perfect ults, the enemy team making mistakes. Icon wall was too easy to hold last, and I'm really glad that this is like the right change to make, I think, too.
Yeah, that's a great adaptation, though.
Agreed.
Like sitting there waiting for until you got a full push there. That's so cool. Okay, well, anyways, let's move on and let's talk about just some of the news that's been going around. Obviously, there's been a lot of just clues being. Hold on a second. I just changed the title real quick. New clues in terms of the lore, in terms of what's related to the new hero, and some of the things have been added to Numbani particularly. So the starting spawn for Numbani has the OR-15 being smashed into a wall like a big crater style, and then it falls to the ground. And there's been a lot of pictures and gifs around the community just taking a look at that. And also on the payload where there used to be Doomfist's glove or his fist, that glass is broken now and the fist is gone. So there's definitely some things going on there. It's still clearly not Doomfist, guys, right? But there's something related to Doomfist, I believe. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this all last week. The only new news beyond the in-game changes, they tweeted a notepad, one of Effie's notepads, which has a couple more clues, and particularly it has a paint color code, I guess. So some people are connecting the colors that she has here, the paint colors, to some art that has been released. So that there's some theories about who this might be. Very, very unclear at this point in time. But we do have some thoughts as to who the character might be, because we do have some art with Omnic looking robot that has horns, or at least something that looks like horns, and also has that same color palette. So we have clues, but we still have no idea.
Gotta love the community. And we know from Jeff Kaplan accepting the DICE Awards this past week too, that it's not the spider tank too that people were thinking, or the spider robot that's in that one painting drawing. So it's not that. Yeah, it's definitely whatever Ben's talking about here, or at least the newest conspiracy is that it's something related to that. Jake, any thoughts on this, or you're just like, I'm just gonna wait till it comes out?
Partially that. Partially, I think there's a possibility that they might drop 2 heroes at once.
Yeah. Oh man, that'd be awesome.
They specifically said that. I saw some posts on the Battle.net forums that was said like 24 is not what you expect it to be, and that was at the point where everyone was like, "It's Doomfist. It's obviously
That's
Doomfist."
True. That's
like,
true.
like that was the point where the prevailing thing was like, okay, obviously Doomfist is next year. Like they're doing all this stuff about it. And the Reddit detectives have like found like the Twitter of the woman who voices a couple characters and also voices Athena, like the announcer, doing more like voice acting work, unclear for who, but people theorize that there might be a character, like a playable Athena of some sort, or like the announcer, some sort of a Omnic, I don't know, probably like a support or something. I'm not sure exactly what role. You know, and I think that there's been some stuff like I feel like the Nabani thing is sort of an obvious tease at Doomfist. Like, what else could, you know, smash that big hole in the wall? But Doom, you know, it's like, I don't know what Doomfist does, but, you know, punching big holes in walls seems like a plausible thing.
So you think 25 is Doomfist, basically?
Maybe
that's what you're saying.
I think that's a possibility. I think there's a possibility they might drop 2 at once.
Okay.
I kind of hope that they would come today with the competitive patch. I feel like that'd be super fun to like start a new season of competitive with new heroes. I was like, maybe the Bastion changes will make sense because there'll be new heroes and they'll like counter Bastion and like it'll be fine because they're trying to make Bastion stronger, so he's not completely irrelevant. But tragically, no, it's just Bastion.
Bastion.
So the Omnic crisis begins. We'll see if there's any new heroes to save us. I'm personally hoping for something really impactful. I love it when they drop new heroes that are interesting and fun. I think Sombra and Ana have really impressed me. While I didn't think Sombra was in the best spot balance wise, I think they've done really good stuff to her. I like the hack cooldown decrease, the hack speed increase. I really like the changes they made to the character, and I feel like she's an awesome, cool character that shakes things up, even though she's maybe a little weaker than some people would have hoped. Ana, as I think, again, a beautifully designed character, incredibly high skill ceiling, so many options. It just completely has changed the game fundamentally, and in a way that I think is fun. Like, an Ana is, from a support player's perspective, playing Ana is, you know, they're absolutely no less skilled than playing, you know, the highest level DPS. It's just raw aim, right? And I love that they brought that to the support class. So I'm really, honestly, optimistic. I think Blizzard has done an amazing job with all the heroes they dropped so far. I think Ana is obviously a little too strong right now. Sombra's a little too weak. But at the end of the day, I think they have really great game design, and it's just a matter of sort of like finding that Goldilocks zone where you can tweak the heroes to be, you know, just strong enough but not too strong. And I hope that they continue to do that with the new heroes. I honestly have high expectations. I think Blizzard has proven that they're really ready to bring new characters into this rich game and you know, make it just better.
Yeah, agreed. Well said, man. Okay, well, why don't we move on to the next bit of news, which was Nate Nanzer. He did an interview in Korea, I believe, right? Yeah, in Korea.
Yep.
And it was, there's been a lot of transcripts that have been translated, and I have the one on Reddit that I'm going to bring up here. But he answered a lot of questions about the Overwatch League. Obviously, lots of folks, you know, peppering him with a lot of questions. A lot of the answers are ones that we've known. I mean, a lot of the answers are the same ones he gave when he was actually on the show a few months ago. But anything that really stuck out to you, Ben, that he said that was a little new?
Yeah, not like you said, Chris, there wasn't a whole lot of new content revealed here, but it was still interesting to hear Nate's perspective on some of these questions. Particularly, I thought this question, you know, the answer Nate gave was revealing. What are the realistic profit models to sustain the OW League? I think this is a very important question for any new esport these days, as this has been kind of an issue for Riot's LCS. The fact that they didn't actually get revenue into the, you know, the core concept of the league meant that the teams weren't making more money, and so on and so forth. So anyway, I think this is a really important question, and Nate answers, great content will be the key. Overwatch esports team is under the Overwatch development team. This I think we did know, because we believe that in order to establish a successful esport, we need a lot of support and changes from within the game itself. This is why when the OW League starts, we will add systems that will support live viewing of esport matches within the game, checking players' profiles, or view additional video content, so recaps and highlights and things like that, which is fantastic to hear. That means that esports will likely be promoted very heavily within the game client itself. They're going to be creating content that'll be there. And it said also, it is through those quality content that we will host regional and global sponsors. So they're going to integrate sponsors into this, and they will be sharing profits from ticket sales and broadcasting rights that they're going to be selling, including merchandise as well, with the teams and players. So that means, you know, just extrapolating that, if it's going to, you know, he made a point to say that OW League is going to be within the development team. And he's also talking about broadcast being within the client, ticket sales, and merchandising. You got to imagine at least some of this is going to be digital goods within the game as well. So you can kind of look at the analogies of Dota 2, CSGO, Smite, so on and so forth, having in-game purchases that can support the eventual league and all of that. And yeah, he ends the statement with saying that OW League is not simply a marketing strategy. They're pursuing it with the goal of establishing an esports ecosystem, which is something, to be frank, not really done currently in esports.
Right.
Like, there's really no one esport that has like a truly 100% sustainable business model right now. So I like that this is a goal. It's a very lofty ambition, but I definitely thought this was the quote from this interview.
Yeah, that's an interesting point too, because there's another question here that asks if the OW League is an association or is an independent league, and that kind of, I think what people were wondering too is that whatever type of league they set up, or just even the structure of how they're going to set all this stuff up, will it be more of like an umbrella for all Blizzard titles, or will this just be like more of a general esports organization that I guess other games could possibly leverage, just whatever structure they have. So it's kind of interesting. Yeah, it's definitely, good that their focus is very independent of the IP itself, the sales of the IP. And I think that's really, really good, because that's always hindered design of a game. And it still has an overlap, because, it's still a consumer product in the end, right? And they'll still have to make those kind of decisions. But, there will come a time where the popularity of Overwatch as just a consumer game will go down, and what continues the interest in Overwatch is the esport aspect. When you see that in maybe some of the other games a little bit more. I mean, there's still a lot of interest just from the standpoint of playing other games too, but you see other big esports more in that state. And I think when that happens, it'll be great to know that, we're not just trying to sell copies of games, guys. We actually are making money off of, this entertainment aspect of the game, and that's really, really good. Let's see, anything else here? I think that's about it, though, that I felt like was a big thing.
It's a good interview.
Yeah, it's solid.
Everyone should go read it.
Yeah, definitely read it. I mean, of course, a lot of things are going to be, vague or not really wanting to get into until, the actual structure and specifics of the league are revealed. But everything we've heard so far, I mean, is honestly good news. I mean, I was pretty honestly surprised and maybe in a little bit of disbelief when they announced the Overwatch League. I was like, is that sustainable? Can you really have a city model for esports? These are things that have never been done before. But the more Blizzard says, the more I'm beginning to believe that this is something that they can accomplish. No matter what happens, I mean, I'm going to be looking forward to participating in it, ideally in season 1. Yeah. So that's it's going to be a big opportunity, especially for players. I think there's going to be a lot of stuff that really benefits players in terms of, what they force in terms of contracts, and like setting a standard for player treatment and what the life of an esports players look like, what their careers are going to look like.
Yeah.
And Blizzard has a lot of power in that regard. And it seems all indicators are that they're going to be using it for the better, which is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, maybe one last bit that I did notice, and I forget which answer it was, but it does sound like I feel like it hasn't been said explicitly, but it feels like they are going to try to at least keep the existing teams together in some kind of way, or they're going to try, they're going to try their best, not necessarily just break them all up and of course not going to do a draft, but it's definitely not that, that end of the spectrum. It's going to be, I think, closer to the opposite end. And I think that's good. It's great for, teams like yourself, with Hammer. And I don't know if it's going to be Hammer, or if it's going to be like, the New York Hammer, the Hammer esports team or whatever. But, it does, I think that hopefully will help alleviate some of the players, anxieties with potentially breaking up and what they're doing in the meantime, just for these months right now.
All I can say about that is keep an eye on my Twitter for further announcements.
Baby. Okay. All right. Good stuff, man. I knew there was a reason why we picked you. Come on. All right. So next up, we've got another Chinese Overwatch League being announced from Blizzard and Banana Culture partnering in this. I don't know exactly what it's going to be called, but
like the
Premier, just the China Overwatch Premier Series is what it's called. And it's going to be a $600,000 prize pool, which is, wow.
Biggest yet.
That's huge.
The biggest yet.
Yeah, they just keep doubling. We just keep doubling the pot.
It's esports.
Yeah. How much is Apex? Like, how much is the prize pool for Apex? Do you guys know?
I want to say like 200.
Okay.
I have no
Yeah, that's
idea.
the beauty of Apex. Like we don't even care like how much the prize pool is. You know,
It's
just
the
like
hype. It's also
yeah,
the
it's
international, like anything international, anything global. It's just immediately
178,000.
amazing.
yeah, 178,000. It's still quite a bit, but this is
They're tripling
600.
it. I mean, that because that's the highest to date, I believe, right?
Yeah, yeah. Oh no, there was a 300,000 tournament, right? At one point.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So
maybe back before my time.
yeah. In typical Chinese fashion, they decided to go even bigger, you know, going double time. So it's going to be 600,000. It's going to be pretty exciting. Let's see. Did they actually announce the teams? Let me see.
Yeah, I mean that's the big question.
Yeah, the biggest
here.
thing is
will
who's
this
gonna
be
go.
yet another tournament that pulls teams out of North America, out of Europe into new regions? Is this something that's going to just like more stratify? Is that the right word? Just like split the scene up again, because that's what OGN has really done,
Mhm.
pulling some of the most famous, talented teams away from their home regions to play in Asia. So I wonder. I mean, it's a pretty compelling argument. I mean, Hammers, like, let's say you graduated, and you get an invite to this league. It's like, well, you might be the best team. Like, we don't know anything about China at all, and there's all this money on the line. Like, for the player's perspective, and you get to travel and experience new culture. That seems like a pretty good deal for you guys if you got the offer.
Would you go? This is even
我也
shorter
说一
question.
下中文，可是说的不好。
And he
Oh
speaks
yes,
Mandarin. What?
dude. He speaks he
What?
speaks Mandarin.
So I would love
Beautiful.
to go to China. I would love
Oh
to go to
my
China.
god, dude, come on.
personally.
People, if you're watching this show, you're like Banana Culture. If you're watching this show, Blizzard obviously too. Come on, let's get an invite.
Find me out.
Exactly. Let's get a. Yeah, you've been. I mean, there's always one. I feel like there's always one slot that's for just I wouldn't say the lower tier team, but there's we've had, I guess, that spot flipped for Fnatic. I think was one. It was reunited. Like in the very first Apex season. So why not get Hammer in there? That'd be awesome. That'd definitely be great.
Yeah, I mean, we just hit number 5 in the world last night.
Nice on Gosu.
And yeah, if we on Gosu, and if we beat Immortals tonight, so if we beat Immortals tonight, we may. I mean, it depends on how many points. I don't actually know exactly how many points we'll win. But we might hop Rogue. We might hop Fusion Girls, and maybe even get to top 3 global. So we're getting to be in a spot where we're no longer really that tier 2 team, which is it feels good, man, for sure.
Yeah.
I guess we'll have to see tonight though. Maybe let's see if we can perform.
Yeah, even more hype for tonight's matchup. It's gonna be great.
Absolutely, a lot on the line.
Yeah, let's move on.
I'm looking at the Gosu rankings. I haven't checked them out for a while. It says that Fusion Girls are the number 3.
I know.
That's
what he
It's
just
because
said.
they're in they compete in Australia, which
Yeah.
they don't compete outside of that region. So
Yeah.
they win, and because they're the best team in Australia, they win every single game. They have like on a 26 game streak or something.
Yeah.
I would be interested to see how they would fare in an international competition.
I'm just
I don't know. Maybe they're good, but it is
emoji.
It is definitely a thinking. It makes me question how Gosu does these rankings, and Gosu points in general. But whatever. I mean, if we're better than them, then we'll keep winning games than they won't. So
Yeah, we need to figure out a good rank. We need a ranking system, whether it's Ghost or not. We need a ranking system that the tournaments and the events and Blizzard actually respect, adhere to, use. And
I think something like the Overwatch League will be a boon in that regard.
well, I mean,
Oh, yeah,
it would just
absolutely.
be it. Yeah, I think.
Yeah. Well, how'd you do last season in the Overwatch League? It's like like that. That's how we determine. That's how all the other tournaments are going to
Exactly.
send out their invites. As if, oh wow, you did this well in the Overwatch League. Well, I guess you're that good at in the world right now. So.
Right, exactly. It'll be very, very clear. Okay, well, let's get into some player news here. We've got some news from Team Liquid, and the first one is that Minstrel has left TL, and then he's, I guess, being replaced
Pursuing
by
a career
Shatter.
in Stardew Valley.
Yeah, I know. Assuming a career in Stardew Valley. Typical Minstrel fashion.
Very sarcastic guy, so that was like really.
He's been on the
it was
show
just
before.
Like, yeah, that's true.
He's a good guy.
So Minstrel out, Shatter in. Makes a ton of sense, especially right now with how strong Genji is. How many teams are really, really picking a lot of Genji? So Shatter definitely known for his Genji play.
Famous.
There's also rumors that the 6th member of this team that actually replacing Minstrel might be Grego. Currently on the Carbon Entertainment, Carbon's series website, they have Grego on the roster, so this is not confirmed. but Grego might be replacing Minstrel as Lucio main, which would be great. And let's be honest, Team Liquid has been struggling for a long time now, so good to see them change things up. And I could see someone like Shatter, so a Genji like that, being exactly what they need. They haven't really had super strong Genji play. ID is great Pharah, but not as great with Genji. So we'll see. That could be neat.
Okay, yeah, it'll be good. We've been waiting for TL to at least.
I look forward to seeing that team, scrimming that team, seeing them in tournaments. I mean, I think Overwatch is awesome because you never know what a player's going to do. In CS, sometimes you just pick up, Stewie 2K, and people are like, Jesus, this guy's wild. Like, he's just going to hit every headshot. But, picking up a great star player at Overwatch is not quite the same thing because it's all a question of how their style works with the team, how they mesh with the team, how that communication aspect plays in. So I'd love to see how this team, like the results they start putting up. Same thing about NRG's new roster. I mean, I want to see how that team continues to grow and gel together because I think they have a lot of potential. It's just a question of if or when they're going to realize it.
So this is the other potentially big news, Chris. A certain tweet went out from the NRG account.
Yeah, a certain tweet
just a couple hours ago.
Certain tweet and happened to include our friend Harblue, who obviously recently left Complexity, and we've been speculating the last week or so as to whether, at least in our dreams, our just marketing dreams, we were thinking, oh, Harblue on NRG, wow, that would be like a team full of a bunch of top streamers. Now that IDQD has joined too. And it looks like he'll be streaming basically with the NRG team. So, the sixth man at least of it. So the speculation is whether he's trying out for them right now. And
I mean, he's got to be. Why else would they tweet Seagull, Dummy, IDDQD, Numlocked, and Ajax, who are all on NRG? We know this. Ajax hasn't been officially confirmed yet, or has he? I can't remember. But yeah, they tweeted 6 men will be streaming today at 4 p.m. Pacific in 2 hours, including Harblue. So has it been confirmed? Has Harblue joined NRG? We don't. I mean, it's not official, but
NRG and friends.
I mean, this has got to be
his name
soft
is just
confirmation, right?
I don't know if I can leak the roster they've been trying out.
Yeah.
I would say you could just look at this tweet and draw your own conclusions.
They made Harblue and Ajax's names.
They're not exactly hiding anything.
Yeah, it's like maybe a couple small.
I mean, those players certainly don't have contracts signed yet, so I mean, who knows? But
now if
I'd say that the fact that they're playing with the team at placements is speaks for itself, maybe.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, if his name was as big as Numlock's, then I think we would have. I think we'd have a very strong conclusion. No, but it looks at the very least like he's trying out for them. So that would be pretty sweet, man. That would be a lot of fans, at least a lot of fan favorites, all on the same team, which would generate a lot of hype.
I'm just continually impressed by Dummy's Ana. I think he's one of the best in the scene right now. Really underrated player. I think a lot of people miss him, but he's a very, very talented gamer.
Yeah, I've actually been watching his YouTube videos recently. He's been putting out a lot of really good content.
Yeah, we had one yesterday.
Over there. It's really impressive, actually.
Yeah, doing a lot of just walkthroughs and analysis and this stuff. It's been really, really good. Okay, well, let's move on. I wanted to give a quick shout out to the folks listening on iTunes. For those of you that like to listen to podcasts on the way to work or on the bus or anything, got your iPad or iPhone or whatever, we are available on iTunes as well as Google Play or Google Podcast and SoundCloud. So you can check us out there if that's more of your speed. We actually have a lot of listeners that do listen to the show that way. So I want to give a shout out to some folks.
Just a sec.
Yeah, no problem. I'll give a shout out to Grayson TV, who left us a 5-star review and a nice comment there. That leaving 5-star reviews and helping us with that, the ratings, helps people find us when they're searching for an Overwatch podcast on iTunes. So if you want to help out the show, don't have like a few bucks to throw our way, even though we don't have a patron yet either, you just go to iTunes and leave us a review there. That'd be amazing and help greatly. Okay, well, why don't we talk about Apex? Because there's been a lot going on Apex. Last week we talked about just potential of how these last few matches would basically determine whether we'd see a lot of Western teams in the top 8 or if we weren't, because there was a lot on the line. Basically, everybody was on the bubble except for Envy, and they all had a chance to make it through. Unfortunately, I think our prediction was 2-2, or maybe two teams get through. Well, only one team got through, guys, and probably we'll talk about, I guess, each one of them a little bit. But Ben, would you catch most of these, or
I didn't catch last night's games.
Okay.
Unfortunately. Yeah, I did watch the Misfit game. So yeah, I don't. We're actually running out of time. So much great discussion on the show. So I don't think we really have time to really go deep into the meta and what we saw from the matches themselves. But sadly, Fnatic, Misfits, and Cloud9 have all made their exit from the Apex tournament. Envious, the only Western team remaining, and they actually suffered a pretty surprising loss last week too. So even Envious, not really looking like the strongest possible team as we kind of expected. The thing about Envious is they don't have the Genjis and the Tracers like other teams have. So while Envious has been consistently the number one team in the world for quite some time now, they may not be best suited for this current meta where Genji, Tracer, Pharah is so important. They don't have Tailspin anymore, who was that guy who played Genji, Tracer, Pharah for them. Can Taimu flex into Tracer? I mean, sure. We've seen him play a little bit of Tracer in the past, but it's absolutely not what he's known for. So really up in the air now, as 3 of the Western teams gone, Envious the only one left, and this is definitely not their strongest meta. So if I'm a betting man, I don't think I bet on Envious anymore. I'm not sure.
Lunatic High was the first, top seed to pick during the draws, and they picked Envious. So they, that's how it works, by the way, in Apex, for those of you that are not familiar with it. The top 4 seeds from groups, they get to actually choose their opponent. It's ranked, it's seeded too, right? The actual top 4. So they get to choose what side they want to be on. At least they go in order, and then they get to choose who they want to choose to play. So very interesting that Lunatic High picked Envy. It says a lot. Maybe they think they match up well against them. But yeah, I don't think Envy is looking super strong right now. Taimu seemed confident. I mean, it's like, what do you expect him to say? But he was the representative for Envy during the draws, and he was very, very confident that they would be beating Lunatic High, and he was excited to be able to play them. But yeah, I'm curious to see how that's going to turn out. I don't think it's going to be easy, that's for sure, for Envy. If not, it might be potentially a loss for them. I don't know. What do you think, Jay?
Envy is a team that has always sort of surprised me because, I mean, part of the equation is that they just have like a star-studded roster, and they've had a roster that they've only made minor changes to throughout their lifetime as a team, which I think is awesome. I see a lot of players in that team. They're just incredibly potent. Although one problem I do see is a little bit of overlap, right? Like I see an extremely strong hit scan player in Taimu, but also in Harry Hook. They both are incredibly powerful hit scan heroes. I mean, Taimu also has that Roadhog, just definitely on lock. Like you were saying, that Genji, that Pharah, it's there, but it's not there in the same capacity maybe the other teams have it. Like it's not people aren't quite so comfortable on those flex options, which is why I think having a really deep hero pool is a really important thing for long-term success. Although I look at a player like Harry Hook and I'm just convinced that he can play everything.
Yeah.
It might be a matter of learning, but if I'm Harry Hook right now, I'm learning. I'm spending all my time learning those heroes that I'm not currently the best at in the meta, because unless something Envious has been known for is sort of just fearlessly running triple tank McCree and just on every map in every situation, just believing in Harry Hook's ability to pop off every game, which that's a strategy like that. If that can work, if you play it perfectly, but I would say it would be to their benefit to have more flex options, being ready to pull out that Genji who's so powerful, so potent right now against so many rosters. Being able to pull out those slightly non-standard and unexpected picks. Even if you're running triple tank, maybe you don't want a McCree. Maybe you want something a little more versatile. Maybe you want the Tracer, which is a slight hole in their roster. Although, I do think Taimu and Harry Hook both have impressive Tracers. They don't quite have the same comfort, the play style that they're just so adapted to playing Tracer. You see a lot of North American teams having a lot of success right now because, like let's say take Rogue as an example. They have Soon, who I think is the best Tracer in the whole world.
Yeah.
So have a player like that on your roster, you're happy anytime there's a meta that lets Soon play his best character. And the same is true on the other DPS. I think Nico is incredibly good, AKM is incredibly good, and they have a versatile hero pool. And between them, they basically play every single fragging class in the game. When you have a situation like that on your roster, you're kind of immune in a way to the meta changes and to the hero style changes. So I think the question is, can Envy patch those holes? Like, is the ship tight enough, and are those players ready? If anyone can, it's Envy, but I think I'll be excited to watch those games for sure.
They might not have to with Bastion. with Bastion,
yeah, throw it all out the window. We got Bastion
it's like,
tonight.
If this patch might actually just be the saving grace that Envy needs. It genuinely could have a significant
This is like
impact
last Apex season. Wasn't there a patch before the last week of last Apex?
Yeah. Blizzard should not do that, I think.
Well, that was crazy. Last Apex was crazy. I mean, they literally just put, Mickey in like last minute. But yeah, I mean, just talking just real quick about some of the things. I mean, it wasn't quick. It was 3-0 Metathena over Envy. Envy had already clinched at least a spot, but they did lose their number 1 seed because of that, so they didn't get to choose their opponent. Misfits, who actually had a chance. It was a really tough chance. I think they had a 3-0 Lunatic High, or maybe 3-1. They ended up losing 3-0. Yeah, they ended up 3-0 there. I linked this ridiculous Miro play, which I didn't actually realize you could even do until he actually did that. That was where on Ilios, he just dives out into the ether, like out into the ocean, and then he jumps back out of like thin air, somehow propelling himself back onto the map, which is
really just impressive ways to play. Make use of, he just completely min-maxed the hero. He used the ultimate's jump cooldown reset when casted, and then he also used the fact that when the ultimate ends, you also get a jump pack reset. So he basically he played it perfectly, and he also lives and escapes with his life. I mean, it's an absolutely nutty play. And I think it speaks to the beauty of Overwatch, that even you take a character like Winston, a lot of people say, oh, well, Winston, I mean, like, not like you need to aim. It's like such an easy hero. Well, watch Miro play and tell me that. Watch any of these players play these heroes that a lot of people don't see as like super high skill ceiling. And then, when you watch someone do something like that, you're like, yeah, okay. Like, show me that you can do that, and then I'll believe you. Winston's not hard to play.
Yeah, absolutely. Watching the players that are the best in the world at their hero is like why I watch Overwatch, man. It's like beauty. It's a beautiful experience. The next match, Kungdu Uncia versus C9, and C9 needed to win. And last week we were talking about this was like the least likely chance, I think, for one of the teams, even though I think some of you guys might have picked C9. It was a great series. It ended up going down to the last map, 3-2. I think it was by far the best quarterfinal match, or not quarterfinal, but group. There's just the final stages or final match in the last week. C9, I feel like C9's coming together now. Like, I feel like C9's one of the top 8 teams. They just didn't make it into it. Like right now in Apex,
I feel like C9 has always been one of the, even when they're struggling, you have to remember they were struggling from being the best team in the world. Like there was a 2-month period where it was pretty clear that C9 was like the best in the world during the beta. So struggling compared to that, I think they've always been top 8 in my opinion.
I mean, they've been they've been having a hard time though since Mendo joined, right? They've never put it together. But now what I saw from them against Kungdu Uncia, which Kungdu Uncia is top, I don't know, 5 team, I guess I'd say. What would you say, Jake? Kungdu somewhere in there top.
They're ranked 11 on Ghost right now, but it looks like they've had a really solid winning record.
Yeah,
it's so hard to say these days because you have the global Ghostry ranking, but let's say my team, 100% of our points have been earned in North America, playing against North American teams.
Yeah, right.
A couple European teams, like 2 or 3, but and they're the exact opposite. Every single point has been earned in Korea, playing against Korean teams. So that's why I'm so excited for the Overwatch League. I want to play them. I want to see those matchups. I want to match up the best of the best in the world. And, I want to go to those international lands because I think so many of those questions remain unanswered to this day. Like, who knows how good these teams are against one another? You say, oh, Envy beat this North American team, and then this Korean team beat Envy. Well, the Korean team must be better. But in a game like Overwatch, it's never so simple. So I think I'm super excited to see these teams play each other, see my team play these teams.
I agree. But overall, just against Kungdu Uncia, who's a very solid team. Kungdu Uncia with their ult economy, super efficient, with it. So C9 being disciplined enough to actually hang in there with their own ult economy and efficiency, not quite at the level of KU, but very, very close. What made it it just opened my eyes to like C9, like that match, and then getting a chance to actually see Surefour and Birdring really going head to head. It really did come down to just who would get the better end of each of those exchanges. That which team actually had more success. Obviously, they're Mendo doing well too, and just the different characters. I mean, the different teammates actually performing at a high level too. It was great to see. C9 was as fluid as I've ever seen, just switching constantly. Like literally every time Kung Du Intia would switch, they would switch to counter after they died. So watch that series. If you guys haven't gotten a chance to watch it, you should definitely see that. And then lastly, Fnatic Runaway. That was a runaway. By runaway, it was not even close. I think Fnatic probably played their worst game of the season against Runaway, unfortunately. But yeah, Hacksaw Stitch just way outplayed like Buds and Hoppy-Cool. It was crazy. I don't know if you guys caught it or not. Yeah.
No, I haven't had a chance to catch it yet. But I feel like I'm the only person who's been saying this, but I have a bone to pick. I have to say this. I feel like Happy-Cool has not played nearly as well as people have given him credit for. Like, as soon as Happy-Cool joined this Fnatic squad, everyone's like, he's so good. This is going to make them awesome. Like, they're not going to miss a beat. But they have not been the same since they lost IDDQD. And I'm not saying Happy-Cool is bad. He's definitely good. But he's not really helped this roster at all. Like, they've just been on a downward trend ever since they lost IDDQD. And it's a real shame, too, because I think Stoop was one of the best Reinhardts in NA when he was still here. Cool Matt, obviously an incredible Zarya. Buds, Reaper was insane. Vonathil, great shot caller. Costa, great Zenyatta and Ana. But yeah, honestly, like I just like people kept singing Happy-Cool's praise, and I'm just not seeing it yet. I need to catch the games, obviously, but they lost.
That's not the series to watch. if people are making an argument for Happy-Cool, because yeah, it was pretty ugly, just to be quite frank. But yeah, so Fnatic got knocked out too. I think Fnatic had the best chance of actually going through. They might have only needed to win 1 or 2 maps. I forget exactly how it played out, but they definitely had the best chance. In fact, I think I picked them last week to go through. So disappointing, obviously, that they're going home too. But in the end, guys, top 8 is going to be Envy, Lunatic High, Metathena versus AFB, Kung Du Panthera versus LW Blue, and then Kung Du Insia versus Runaway, which is, I think those last two, those Panthera versus LW Blue and Insia versus Runaway, are going to be sick, man. It's going to be like awesome to watch that. So definitely catch that.
Jake, I see what you're talking about on Happy-Cool's Twitter.
What'd you say?
I see what Jake was talking about. Happy-Cool goes,
link me this. What is it?
Rogue showing the mid-tier NA teams that they are still mid-tier NA teams. I think that's talking about you guys.
Well, I mean, if Fnatic would like to scrim, I mean, I might turn them down.
See it.
Yikes.
Just kidding. We'd love to scrim you, Fnatic.
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be definitely good. Well, I think we're out of time now, given that Ben's got to get to some work. So why don't we wrap up? We've got some questions that we'll get to next week. We'll just queue up a few more next week. But Jake, man, it's super pleasure having you on. I think
thanks for having me. It was awesome.
Definitely love to have you on again. You're super well spoken, and I think you just got great perspective on
Thank you.
Yeah. Any shout outs you want to do?
Shout out to my Twitter, I guess, at Jake_Overwatch. Shout out to my Twitch, also Jake_Overwatch. Huge shout out to my team, my sponsors. I mean, Hammer Esports has done just great by us. They're an awesome org, growing in the scene right now. And I look forward to great things out of them in the future. For my team, honestly, the only reason I'm here sitting in this chair doing this interview is because of them. I really have a lot of faith in my team, a lot of faith in my roster. And if you follow us, I think we'll do great things with you guys. So I think you're going to see this 6 stay together for a long time. I mean, when you talked about Virtus Pro a little bit in Counter-Strike, and it's funny because that was always the analogy I made talking to orgs when we were still unsponsored, trying to make the pitch, which is just that we don't want to change. We want to build a dynasty together. And I think the only way you do that is with a consistent 6, and it's with trust, and it's with skill and growth. So we're hoping for those things in the future. Huge shout out to my mom, my biggest supporter. Love you, Mom.
This is Jason all over again. This is awesome. Jason does it every week. That's awesome. Okay. Ben, you want to do shout outs?
Yeah. Thanks to Jake for coming on the show. I know you got some scrims to get to before your matches tonight. Go figure out that Bastion and let us know how that goes. We'll all be watching its Carbon series, twitch.tv/Carbon Entertainment later today. And honestly, thank you so much, Jake, because that was probably one of the best interviews that we've had on the show. And I'm definitely a Hammers fan now, so I'm gonna be watching to see how you guys do. I love the mature attitude you're bringing to the table. So can't wait to see how you guys do in the future. And yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I'll be watching you guys in like 2 hours.
Yep,
in the
me
Carbon
too.
Series.
Can't wait.
We're the second match, so we're actually at 10:15 Eastern.
Okay.
10:15 p.m. Eastern.
Go get those Bastion scrims in quickly.
Yeah,
we're sorry to Hammers for keeping you so long.
If you break out a Bastion, you get bonus points tonight. At least from us.
If there's not a Bastion, I will be very surprised.
Wow.
We'll see how it plays in scrims. I mean, it's matches like this are always insane because day one, no one knows anything. Like, there's no metagame. It's just like, what made sense in our 2 hours of scrims? Let's run it. Let's go.
Yeah.
So it should be fun.
That's cool. Round things out, thanking the both of you guys, Jake and Fishstix, for a great show. All the folks that have been watching too. You can check out the VODs at youtube.com/ChanManV. This one a little bit later tonight, as well as all the other great episodes that we've done in the past are all there. I also do some Hearthstone shows, so tomorrow I'll have a Value Town. There's a lot of stuff going on in Hearthstone too, so check out Value Town tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern, and we're doing another streamer showdown on next Monday too. But other than that, audio folks, catch us on iTunes. Just go search for Overwatch, and we'll show up. I think second or third. Third. So try to get us up to second. That'd be awesome. That's like our next goal right now. But yeah, you can check us out there and subscribe to the feed. And whenever I upload it, which will be later tonight, you'll get it instantly. But that's going to be it, guys, for the overview. So for Jake, Fishstix, and myself, ChanManV, we'll see you next time. Later.